Today's training will provide education on our newly implemented concussion protocol as it relates specifically to Big Spring School District. The Brain Steps program was created to build a bridge connecting the medical, rehabilitation, education sectors, and families following students K through 12 acquire brain injury. ABIs can cause cognitive, physical, socio-emotional, and behavioral impairments that impact classroom performance and learning. In 2007, the Pennsylvania Department of Health established the Brain Steps program to address this issue. Big Spring School District joins over 700 schools in the state who have formed concussion management teams to assist students with concussion by guiding their progression to full academic and physical activity.
At the conclusion of this training module, staff will have met these 5 training objectives. 1. Discuss signs and symptoms associated with concussion and the need for ongoing concussion management. 2. Demonstrate ability to identify accommodations needed to mitigate concussion symptoms. 3. Describe factors that may influence an individual's concussion resolution. 4. Recognize the role school staff plays in the collaboration process of concussion management. And 5. Identify psychosocial feelings that may be associated with traumatic brain injury or concussion. Concussions are serious medical conditions that change the way the brain normally works. They may be caused by a bump, jolt, or blow to the head. The jolt may be the result of a fall or a blow to the body that causes the head and/or brain to move rapidly backwards and forwards. Since the brain is a mobile organ inside the head, this motion causes the brain to connect with the skull in both the front and the back of the brain. The resultant injury may not result in loss of consciousness, but it does cause mild traumatic brain injury. In a typical year, the Big Spring School District sees approximately 100 students who have been identified with a concussion. In summary, what is a concussion? Mild brain injury. It changes the way the brain normally works. It's caused by a bump or jolt or blow to the head. May be caused by a fall or blow to the body that results in the head and brain moving rapidly backward and forward. All concussions are serious. Most do not result in unconsciousness. This slide provides statistics regarding the Big Spring School District's concussions for the 2016-2017 school year. At the elementary level, there were 8 students, the middle school level had 26 students, and the high school level had 65 students who were diagnosed with a concussion. Even though the elementary is seeing fewer than the middle and high school, it is significant because a history of repeated concussions will impact and possibly prolong a student's recovery in later years.
Each individual responds differently to a concussion. The signs and symptoms of a concussion can be divided into 4 domains. Those 4 domains are physical, cognitive, emotional, and sleep-related. We will get more in-depth in those 4 domains in a minute. Since there is no medical test to determine the severity of the injury, medical and academic team members must rely on the signs and symptoms experienced by the individual with a traumatic brain injury.
Signs of a concussion are observable by other individuals. Symptoms of a concussion are problems reported by the concussed individual. This slide summarizes the symptoms of concussion. The physical symptoms can include headache, nausea, vomiting, balance problems, visual problems, fatigue, sensitivity to light, sensitivity to noise, numbness or tingling. Cognitive symptoms include feeling mentally foggy, feeling slowed down, difficulty concentrating, difficulty remembering.
The last domains are the emotional and sleep-related domains. Symptoms of a concussion with the emotional domain, students may be irritable, they may show sadness, they may be more emotional, nervous, and have a change in behavior. Their sleep may be affected, they may be more drowsy, they may either sleep more than usual or less than usual, and they will have trouble falling asleep.
There are many myths about concussions, so let's review the facts. All concussions should be treated as a serious injury since there is no test that can determine its severity. Although 80% of concussions resolve within the first 4 weeks following an injury, there is potential for long-term disability, especially if a second blow to the brain occurs while it is still recovering from the first injury. Many times, the signs and symptoms of a concussion occur hours, days, or even weeks after the initial injury. These signs and symptoms may become more noticeable during learning and concentration activities. Physical activity may cause an increase in symptoms. No student should return to full activity, either physical or academic, until their symptoms resolve. A written note from a qualified physician trained in concussion management should be received prior to full return to sports activities. Management of the student with a concussion is a collaborative effort and involves medical personnel, teaching staff, coaches if the student is an athlete, administration, the parent or guardian, and the student.
A student's ability to return to full activity may be influenced by other factors. Many other disorders also have the same signs and symptoms displayed by concussions. A student with any of the above disorders may have prolonged signs and symptoms which will influence the length of time needed to recover and be symptom-free. These would include a student that has ADD or ADHD, one that has a past history of a concussion, depression, anxiety, those students that have frequent headache history or migraines, students who have learning disabilities, a sleep disorder, and or other psychiatric or developmental disorders. Legislation on disabilities. 3 laws provide the basis for student accommodations. Individuals with temporary disabilities are eligible for academic accommodations. No longer is it necessary for a student to have a medical diagnosis prior to accommodation implementation. The Big Spring School District has begun implementing concussion management protocol. Since a doctor's note for a student being excused from physical and academic activities is not required, the CMT guidelines will be followed for a student experiencing concussion signs and symptoms. Concussion management accommodations should be treated in the same manner as a 504 service contract and/or an IEP. Therefore, it is mandatory that the teacher follow and implement the accommodations they receive from the symptom monitor or the academic monitor. If a concussion is not resolved after 4 weeks with the concussion management accommodations, a student would move from the CMT protocol to a 504 service contract. When academic accommodations are no longer needed, the service contract would end. If more accommodations and learning supports are needed after the 504 service contract, testing will be initiated for a possible development of an IEP. So who is part of the concussion management team? There's 2 roles in the concussion management team. The first role is that of the symptom monitor. The symptom monitor could be a nurse, a doctor, or a school athletic trainer. The symptom monitor will be interviewing the student one time a week to determine presence of or absence of symptoms. They will initiate the accommodations at the beginning. They will also act as a collaborator between physician, parent, and academic monitor. The academic monitor would be a school counselor or a school psychologist. The academic monitor will be contacting students' teachers for information about academic problems. They will be collecting student data several times a week, and they will also be collaborating between teachers, student, and symptom monitor. They will also evaluate if academic accommodations need to be updated.
What role do teachers, administrators, and support staff play in concussion management? If you hear of a student receiving a blow to the head or a concussion, the referral flyer may be used to alert the concussion management team. If you observe signs of a concussion, call the nurse so an evaluation can occur. If a student complains of unresolved headaches, inform the nurse. The role of the school staff is that one of reporting observable signs to the concussion management team, academic or symptom monitor. Signs such as the student appears dazed, the student appears to have trouble remembering, the student appears clumsy, the student is slow with response to questions, the student demonstrates mood, behavior, or personality change such as irritability and/or anger. The student is having difficulty with academic recall, the student repeats questions, and the student has unresolved headaches.
There are many accommodations that could be implemented to provide brain rest. You will see some examples of accommodations. Some of those examples: limit physical exercise, no sports or gym until the symptoms are gone, limit computer Chromebook usage, limit tests to one test daily, modify homework assignments, utilize untimed tests or oral testing when necessary, increase time to complete assignments, scheduled rest times throughout the day. Students should have breaks to make sure they're hydrated, quiet areas for testing, stopping work if symptoms reappear or they worsen, and making adjustments to address light and noise sensitivity. For example, allow the student to wear sunglasses or a hat for light sensitivity. Also, there are times when a physician will require complete brain rest, where the student will be unable to participate in any type of academic work. This slide shows the example of the accommodation sheet. Accommodations that will be needed for the student will be checked on the sheet and emailed to the teachers. Sometimes, to save time, the nurse will actually email the teachers with a list of accommodations that the teacher should utilize for the student. This sheet is a teacher academic monitoring tool. Teachers would get this sheet once a week to check which accommodations the student is using in school, and if the student is not using any accommodations in their classroom.
The following slides will give you resources to help you assist students recovering from a brain injury. This link will provide additional information about traumatic brain injury. Please copy the URL and keep it as a reference. The teacher's desk reference includes information that was adapted from the United States Department of Health and Human Services Heads Up Concussion for Schools resource material. And this is what it's going to look like when you click on or when you go to the website that was shown in the previous slide. The CMT flowchart provides the process in which the CMT team will utilize in providing academic accommodations and determining if those accommodations need to be updated or continued or discontinued. The concussion management brochure is a tool to be used to report concussion to the team. It can be turned into any building nurse office. It is also a helpful resource tool that you can keep at your desktop to give you quick access to signs and symptoms and ways that concussions can be managed. We would like to thank you for participating in this training. We hope you have a better understanding of concussions and your part in the process of managing recovering students from a traumatic brain injury. You will receive a post-test via email, which will assist you in evaluating the effectiveness of the training.